Good morning again, everyone. I'm going to be referencing the last video, so this is more of a continuation from the last video than a fully separate part. I thought I would have more COVID stuff, but it was more intertwined than I thought, so apologies and thanks for sticking with me. Okay, moving back into COVID stuff, here's Dr. Tam, and I don't think she has any credibility, and this little slogan-y thing that she tries to put out here falls very, very flat. It's awful. It's just terrible. Okay, so she says, one of two. Our goal for COVID-19 response remains to minimize severe health and illness and death. But this kick at the curve is a bit different. With schools and businesses open, everyone's efforts are crucial. This time, we've got to bend it like Canadians, give it the old double-double by layering personal risk assessment and prevention practices and reconfiguring and downsizing our in-person contact bubble as and where possible. So just a few minutes ago, Doug Ford said the personal bubble doesn't work anymore and you have to shrink your bubble or whatever to just people who you live with, which is, again, garbage. Go visit your family for Thanksgiving. Here's Anthony Furey, and he's talking about how there was a CBC article saying that there was a new record on Friday of 732 cases, but a bunch of those cases were catch up from a backlog of testing that had been done through the previous week, right? So there was like a 10,000 or 20,000 case backlog, and that's where those numbers came from. Here is the Toronto Sun. It says Toronto Public Health calls for restrictions on day they release inflated numbers. On Friday morning, the Ontarians were subject to another series of shocking headlines about the latest COVID-19 case counts. A new record number has been hit, the headlines blared as Ontario was reporting 732 new cases. Within minutes of Health Minister Christine Elliott's posting this number online, panic hit and the calls came in from both anonymous and social media users and medical professionals to plunge the province into lockdown once again. There was one big problem, though. That wasn't the real number. Ontario, in fact, reported 659 new cases on Friday. It's probably more than many would like it to be. It's certainly higher than the previous day's count of 538, but it didn't break the previous record of 700 set on Monday. What does this mean, though? How did this confusion come about? There's an explanation, but let's take a step back first. Moments after posting the 732 case count online, Elliott added a note of caution that due to a data review at Toronto Public Health, a number of cases and deaths that occurred in the spring or summer are now being reported today. That's strange. How many? Elliott was not forthcoming with that obviously vital piece of information. The Sun quickly reached out to the Ministry of Health to ask the question because maybe it meant we weren't dealing with a record number after all, and the public should certainly know that. But instead of getting a straight answer, we were told to follow up directly with Toronto Public Health. That's odd. Why would the province not give it to us directly and right away? Did they not even know themselves? Anyway, we followed up with Toronto Public Health, and here's what we finally learned, courtesy of a statement to media from Dr. Veena Dubey, Toronto's Associate Medical Officer of Health. To clarify, 73 confirmed COVID-19 cases included in the provincial numbers are the result of data cleaning and do not represent new cases reported since yesterday. 73 cases entered are from March to mid-July 2020 and are part of our ongoing quarterly assessment work to ensure data accuracy and transparency. Some transparency, you'd think the media and public would have been told about this immediately, right? Rather than inflating the numbers and saying that something happened that didn't, right? Another record, blah, blah, blah. But that's a lie. Okay, just to compare again, 622 cases on April 16th and deaths on April 16th were... Where is April 16th? 21. April 16th, 55. Okay? Cases on September 22nd, 477. Deaths on September 22nd. Sorry, it takes a second. September 22nd. Where are you? There were no deaths on September 22nd. September 21st had 3 deaths, and September 23rd had 3 deaths, I think. Oh, goodness me. Or something close. But certainly not nearly the number of deaths as April, 66. So where's the emergency? Where's the emergency? It seems very, very, very concerning that we are doubling and tripling down on emergency when these are the numbers that we're looking at. Here's an update to the infrastructure story I had yesterday. Cabinet launches new mandate for Canada Infrastructure Bank just months ahead of federal audit. Follows abrupt resignation and board chair. Yesterday we were talking about the $35 billion being spent over 5 years. Holly Doan says only one reporter attending the news conference challenged the announcement. Just one. $10 billion was part of the $35 billion. Why today? The reason why today is because they were trying to change the news cycle and had nothing else to announce. That's why. Canada changing travel restrictions to allow more families to reunite. The federal government is easing the current cross-border travel policies on family reunification, expanding who will be allowed into Canada while also boosting monitoring for travelers entering the country. While the Canadian border is set to remain closed for another month at least to all non-essential travel, changes are coming to allow more extended family members into Canada on compassionate grounds, as well as allowing international students to enter the country under certain criteria. Why are international students coming into the country when we've got mostly students not, like, are the students on campus? Are the students like interacting and having that whole thing going on, or is it a completely different thing altogether? I'm not sure I understand the motivation on this. Here's a story out of Winnipeg. The federal government is preventing provinces from buying new rapid COVID-19 tests directly from the manufacturer and is instead forcing provinces to await a federal allotment. Manitoba's Central Services Minister said Friday. Reg Halwer, said the federal government should not control the supply of the supply of ID Now tests from Abbott Diagnostics. Provincial governments are the frontline providers of healthcare in this country, Huler said. We're the ones who are best able to determine our own needs. Health Canada approved the ID Now tests earlier this week. The test can deliver results within 13 minutes of a patient being swabbed without having to first send the specimen to a lab for processing. The federal government also signed a deal to buy nearly 8 million of the tests, as well as 38,000 analyzer units that process the results. The tests are less accurate than the standard COVID-19 lab tests, which can take days to turn around. They are most likely to be sent to rural and remote communities that have limited access to testing labs or high-risk locations like schools and long-term care facilities, where being able to test a lot of people quickly is effective and helpful. Huler admitted that the tests are not likely to be available in Canada for a couple of months and would not say how many tests Manitoba is looking to get. Manitoba Premier Brian Paulister raised the issue Thursday evening in a conference call with the other premiers and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Federal Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominic LeBlanc said Ottawa's approach will ensure all provinces get the number of tests they need. Our objective is not to block provinces from accessing supplies, LeBlanc said Friday in Ottawa. It would in fact be to work collaboratively with provinces and territories to ensure that all Canadians and all orders of government have necessary supplies to keep Canadians safe. LeBlanc said the federal government will follow up on Manitoba's concerns, but did not commit to any specific action, and they never will. Ontario Premier Doug Ford told reporters Friday he welcomed the federal government's move to approve the new tests. They're doing everything they can in moving these tests forward, Ford said in Toronto. Who is this guy? Seriously, Doug Ford. Just give your head a shake, man. Jobs. Here's some interesting developments. Calgary-based Suncor announces 2,000 job cuts, about 15% of its workforce. CTV Calgary at 5 reports on another tough day in Alberta's oil and gas industry. Remember the hundreds of millions of dollars that got sent to Newfoundland for oil and gas development? Very interesting that we're seeing the collapse here, right? Like this is a lot of jobs, and that is well-paying jobs that are no longer there, and that's very unfortunate. John Brassard is saying, if you are a good storyteller, this is a new job posting in the Prime Minister's office. You have until October 8th to apply. Only serious storytellers need apply. Click on a link below to apply. I was going to have a lullaby song and start like reading a story, but the clip was just going to take too long. So, but I mean, for 89,000 to 96,000, maybe I'll put together a clip and send it on in. A storyteller for the Prime Minister's office? Is this a propaganda piece? Is this the Minister of Truth? Is this just the new term for the Minister of Truth? Storyteller and team lead. What team are you leading? Where? On Reddit? Do you get to take over any well-known Reddit accounts? Do you get to moderate the Canada board on Reddit, or what? Like, whose Facebook do I get to do I get to be in charge of as a storyteller and team lead, right? Is it Miss Freelands? Because if it's Miss Freelands, I don't want it. Nobody can fix that mom tilt and that condescending tone. Nobody. Jake Swan was under the impression that the CBC was the Prime Minister's chief storyteller, and they're making a lot more than $89,000 a year. right? If the CBC was only making $89,000 a year, right? And then the rest funded by themselves. I remember when I was a kid watching Sesame Street. It was probably on PBS, and they had the you call in the tele fundraising. Call in now if you find PBS worthwhile and you want to help support us. Call in now. And they had Big Bird on the phones. Maybe this is a memory that only I have, but people funding something like that because they find it valuable is a lot better than taxpayers being forced to fund something like that and then having all of the absolute garbage programming that's been on the CBC for the last, 10 years? 10 years? It's been more probably, right? 10 years anyway. The Green Party's new leadership will be announced tonight. This has just been a lagging, long process, and it's been annoying. At least they've got the leadership kind of race thing done, right? It's almost done now, but there have been all sorts of criticisms of this, and Elizabeth May's had her fingers in pretty much the whole thing since the beginning. So how is this going to play out? I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. This dog thinks it knows. But, we'll see. I guess we'll find out tomorrow if the person Elizabeth May wanted to win won or not, and how that'll play out. If she'll give up her seat for the leader. She won't give up her seat for the leader. All of that stuff. Here is Aaron O'Toole's platform. This is what Aaron O'Toole ran on to win the Conservative leadership. It got removed from his website. Now, that may or may not be on purpose. Well, it's probably on purpose, but it may or may not be indicative of him wanting to hide what he did. But it's difficult for him to hide what he did on the internet because the archive exists, right? So somebody, and not me, but a quick thinking person, archived the whole platform. So if you want to have a look back at what Aaron O'Toole said, you can have a look, and they're all clickable. Rebuilding Canada, law and order, environment, action plan for Alberta and the West, and all that stuff too. So just in case you want to hold Aaron O'Toole accountable, you have the tools at your fingertips to do so. Link is in the description, but also on CanadaReport.com. And that is now the end of the show. 32 minutes. I probably could have put it all in one, so I apologize for breaking this up. It should have all been one. That's my bad. I apologize. I just thought that I had more COVID and it was going to be more COVID related here, and it wasn't. So that's my fault. My bad. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. Check out CanadaReport.co. Check out SpeakingMoistly.co. And it's the weekend, so have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Enjoy it. Go hang out with your family and your friends. And remember, these COVID death numbers and case numbers are just, they are not enough to justify what these people, these leaders are doing, right? They're not even close to enough to justify what they're doing, right? And if we could have the businesses be open, Sweden is a good model to follow, right? Like there's a lot of evidence to show that what we're doing, putting another lockdown in place or even regional lockdowns is not actually helping anybody, and in fact doing a lot of harm. There's a lot of evidence to that. So I hope that cooler heads prevail, or I hope that we can get some leadership in there that's willing to stand up to these health experts who are anything but expert. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check out CanadaPoly.com. I've already said all that. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.